it's 5 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Vallecitos Water District for Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the district office. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. Could I ask Director Pennick to lead us in the pledge?
All right. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is roll call. Please indicate your attendance. And looks like we're still all here. Good. Okay, next is additions to the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to adoption of this meeting's agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Director Hernandez, seconded by Director Boyd Hodgson. Please vote. And it carries unanimously. Okay, next is public comment. Persons wishing to address a matter not on the agenda may be heard at this time. Do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to presentations. Chris Robbins.
Thank you, President Elithar, board members. So this evening we have 3 of our 5 scholarship winners here to get their checks. I did send out an email before the meeting to all of you. I hope you had a chance to see it, read it maybe, and that we can do this. And add a little bit of levity to, we're coming out of closed session and go into this board meeting. But each one of the students receives a check for $1,200. One of the students, unfortunately, she was a close contact and declined to show up tonight. A little disappointed because she is local and she is here. One of the students is in New York, so mailed him off his check and he'll get it, and told him, hey, you can spend it all in one place because you can put it all towards your tuition. So without further ado, our first scholarship recipient is our own Ann Lopez. Ann, can you come up to the dais there? Hey. Nice. Nicely done. There, that's all I got.
And we didn't poke an eye out.
No injuries? No board members were injured during this?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for that little bit of flair and the jewelry. That's great for today. And I actually just wanted to say thank you to the committee for organizing this scholarship. It was greatly appreciated. And I would like to thank the entire board for approving it and making this happen. School's expensive and there's always things that come up, so thank you very much personally.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
And now next is Ernie Alvarado. Ernie, can you come on up?
Hey.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, my name is Ernie Alvarado. I would like to thank you guys for this scholarship as it will help me to continue my education. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least is Ben Crane.
I'd like to thank you guys. I just recently started down the path of water technology, and this scholarship's a big help, and hopefully it'll help me with internships and stuff like that. So I thank all of you guys.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. Congratulations. We are thrilled that we were able to do this, and we really hope it helps. It is, it gave us such joy to read your applications and understand your commitment. And I I know that I speak for my fellow committee members, although they can share their own words, but congratulations. We hope it helps. Go into the world, do great things. Thank you.
Yes, I was the one that initiated the scholarship program and sent it off to the Policy Finance Committee, who modeled it and did a wonderful job putting
We
it all
got it done.
together. Yeah. And it's very interesting, and particularly the gentleman that said he's interested in getting into the water profession. 100 years ago, during a career days, I walked right by water, public service, yada, 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 yada. I wanted to be an architect. I became one, but they're making way more money than I am, so keep up the good work.
And we have a place for you here too, as you complete your
right.
your schooling. You can come back and be an intern, also that came out of the committee. So we've got a place for you. We really want to bring people into water and have them go down the path of having such a great career. So congratulations.
Yeah, one thing, I just wanted to add, love seeing you tonight. I would love to see in like a year, a kind of a return and report saying, this is what I did with that scholarship money, this is where I'm at, this is how much I've learned. So congratulations, yeah, like Director Boyd Hodgson said, it was great reading your applications. I mean, you guys are the cream of the crop. I mean, there was what, 19, I think? There was quite a few applications, and you guys, they were fabulous. You had great letters of recommendation from many people who endorsed you. So keep up the good work, but this isn't the last time I want to see you. I want to see you like in a year or two and come back and report and tell us how you're doing and how we can help.
Yeah,
So, thank you.
well said, and congratulations.
And I don't think there's anything presently that would preclude them from applying next year. So,
That is correct,
So-
and intentionally so.
Yeah.
This
Another reason to
is
come back.
available in subsequent years too. That's
We'll,
something that was important to us.
we'll follow you through your whole career.
It'll be fun. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pictures?
Yeah, can we get a group photo?
Oh, good. You know, you're my go-to girl now, actually.
Let's get the president, right hand in, and then.
It's lovely having you.
And then Director Panic maybe on, maybe as. No. There you go.
There you go.
And just make sure your window's good, right? There we go. Good. Don't tell safety on me.
OSHA's right behind you, Brian.
Yeah, but it's gotta pop out first before anything happens. Get one more. And as always.
Amen.
Have more faith in this than I do in a fancy camera. Just the way it is. Students, are you okay with your picture being on social media? Sure. Yeah. Are you scooting a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, too late, man.
One last round. And board members, I'll email this to you, okay? For your references if you'd like. Okay.
All right, here we go. Another gold one.
Now, students, you are welcome to stay, but I don't know about that. You're also welcome to go ahead and head out. Thank you. Congratulations. That was good. Thank you. Thank you.
We're gonna have poppers at every meeting.
I love the little gunpowder smell.
I have 2 left over.
What?
So we can
Yeah,
recycle.
well, there was, 5 showed up.
Hey, take them home, give them to your children.
So Ed Pedrazi was watching the meeting and said, that doesn't vacuum up well.
I wondered about that. I wondered if he was gonna get stuck cleaning.
Oh, I'll take care of that after the board meeting. Other duties as assigned, right, General
right.
Manager?
Okay, moving on to consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Hernandez, seconded by Director Sinella to approve the consent calendar. Please vote. And it's unanimous. Okay, moving on to public hearing. 2.1, public hearing regarding a report of district water quality relative to public health goals. This is the time and place for a hearing to consider acceptance of the public health goals report. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Union Tribune on August 26, 2022. The public hearing is now open. General Manager Perun, will you please provide details?
Yeah, thank you, President Ellithorpe. So California Health and Safety Code requires that water utilities with more than 10,000 service connections have to prepare a special report once every 3 years if any of their water quality constituents have exceeded any public health goals. Public health goals, there are non-enforceable goals, and they're established by California Environmental Protection Agency, Cal EPA, their Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment. And the law also requires that where Cal EPA's Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment has not adopted a PHG for a public health goal for a particular constituent, the water suppliers are to use the maximum contaminant level goals adopted by the United States EPA. Only constituents that have a California primary drinking water standard and for which a PHG or a maximum contamination level goal has been established need to be addressed in the report. The law requires the information be provided at a notice public hearing, and that's what we're doing tonight. The board set tonight's public hearing date at its meeting on July 20th. It's important to note that all of our water meets regulatory standards. Even though you may see things exceeding the public health goal, everything meets regulatory standards. That's really important. And Cal EPA does not consider factors such as detection capabilities, can you even tell if it's in there, treatment technology available to see if you can even remove it if you detect it, the benefits of doing so, or the costs. So these PHGs, again, they're not enforceable and are not required to be met by any public water system. And I can tell you that there's no public water system that meets all the PHGs. The board's only action tonight is to accept and file this report and conduct the public hearing, which we've already opened, and listen to any public comment of anybody that may be in attendance. Ed Pedrazi, our O&M manager, is joining us remotely, so if the board has any particular questions about any constituent or any portion of the report, I will reach out to Ed to help answer the questions that are out there. The full report is available both in the board packet and available online. There was one attachment that we did not include in the board packet because it's so large, but it is available online, so the public had access since the public hearing date was established. So with that, President Ellithorpe, I'll turn it back to you to conclude the public hearing.
Okay, does any member of the Board of Directors have any questions for staff?
I do.
Go ahead, Director Penny.
I was gonna bring something up. I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago. Is this the same thing as we call the SSMP audit report? Is this the same or no?
No, it's not.
Okay, this is something different to the environmental one,
Yeah.
not the, okay. All right.
Ed, are you joining us online?
Because that, talk about spill reports, was it spill reports, violations, compliance?
Yeah, so the SSMP is all about wastewater side of things.
Oh, okay,
So that's,
okay.
yeah, that's a different branch of
Okay.
what we do. This is all drinking water quality.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board for staff? Seeing none, does any member of the public have any questions for staff? If so, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and state your question or comment. Any members of the public? I just don't see any. There being no other persons wishing to address the board, the hearing is closed. Does any member of the board of directors have any further questions or discussion? Okay, does any member of the board of directors wish to move acceptance of the public health goals report?
So moved as presented by staff.
It's been moved by Director Sinella, seconded by Director Boyd Hodgson to accept the public health goals report. Please vote. And it carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action items. 3.1, award of amendment number 3 for the Montiel Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project.
Yeah, and President Elitharp, Ryan Morgan will be handling that item.
Thank you, General Manager Perone. Good evening, President Elitharp, directors of the board. It's my pleasure to present the award of amendment number 3 for the Montiel Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project tonight. Montiel Lift Station was constructed in 1985 as a temporary facility. It's really a 5-year intended use facility to pump wastewater collected in the Montiel sewer basin. The existing 6-inch diameter force main is corroded and at risk of failure with Montiel Lift Station. Additionally, the existing 8-inch diameter gravity influence sewer is comprised of ductile iron pipe and is corroded and at risk of failure. Lastly, the existing 8-inch diameter gravity downstream sewer that conveys wastewater from the force main through the Nordall Shopping Center is undersized and cannot accommodate additional development in the Montiel sewer basin without replacement. The district's 2018 master plan identifies replacement of the Montiel Lift Station and the upsizing replacement of the downstream gravity sewer through the Nordall Shopping Center. The Montiel Lift Station has a history of operational inefficiencies and effectiveness, including pump failures and solids buildup in the wet well. When this happens, emergency actions are necessary to make these repairs. The board authorized the professional services agreement with Michael Baker International on November 6, 2019 for professional engineering and design and environmental services. The project is currently in final design. The staff authorized amendment number 1 to Michael Baker MBI on February 10, 2021 for additional gravity sewer replacement design and Caltrans permitting in the not to exceed amount of $44,740. Staff authorized amendment number 2 to MBI on February 14th, 2022 for additional services including easement, plotting, coordination with SDG&E, and the Hotel Leora Lane developers. Additionally, production of exhibits and preparation of plat and legal documents for easement acquisitions in the not to exceed amount of $50,672. On July 17th, 2022, the district initiated a request for additional design engineering services to address continued coordination with the Hotel Leora Lane development, including meetings, exhibits, updates to completed drawings, including grading plans with drainage and grading calculations, coordination with the city of San Marcos, and plat and legal document modifications for easement acquisitions. Staff received a proposal for amendment number 3 from MBI on August 8th, 2022. Staff reviewed this proposal, the fee, and the schedule, and returned comments to MBI and requested clarifications on the scope of work and fee. Staff received the final version of the proposal for amendment number 3 on August 25th, 2022, with a time and materials not to exceed fee of $74,281. Fiscal impact is broken out on page 118 of your board packet, and the project is identified in the current fiscal year 22-23 budget with the approved capital amount of $7,215,000. Funding is provided 51% from the sewer replacement fund and 49% from the sewer capacity fund. In total, the budget is broken out on page 118, identifying amendments 1 through 3, and the original PSA amount of $522,172. With the estimated construction and construction management and inspection services and staff services, it is estimated the project will receive a surplus in the range of $30,000 upon completion. It's with this, staff recommends authorizing the general manager to execute amendment number 3 under the current PSA with Michael Baker International in the amount of $74,281 for additional engineering design services for the Montiel Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project. And if there's any questions, I can take those now.
Thank you. Any questions? Director Sinoa?
Thank you much. You'd mentioned that 49% of this project is funded by capacity fees. Will the hotel, the future hotel, I know that they're going to be paying fees, or will that come after this, or will that contribute to this actual project?
The development project and the capital project, we have been trying to keep separate as separate entities to not muddy the waters, if you will, between the developer and the district and the CIP project, which we are managing, and then the development project, which they are managing. So essentially, the development fees will come later after the fact, once the lift station is constructed and the additional sewer EDUs can be provided in the sewer basin. Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, so this is part of the master plan 2018, so developers have been paying in their cap fees.
They've already been
It's
paying
been
into it.
funding these projects that were already identified, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
How did you decide what percentage would come from which funds?
That's a very good question. The project was set up originally budgeted several years ago, and at one point in time, the City of Escondido was being discussed as a potential outfall for the Montiel Sewer Basin to discharge into City of Escondido, and those conversations broke down essentially, and the city would not accept our sewer. So this lift station project then came about, and there are, it's a mixed-use capacity funding for the project, which has replacement needs, but there's also capacity deficiencies for future development. And so the 50-50 split, I guess, was made some time ago, probably about 5 years ago. The rationale behind that, I don't know, District Engineer
Yeah,
Hubbard?
so if you're replacing 100 feet of 6-inch sewer with new 6-inch sewer, 100% replacement, that would be the fund. But if you're going to increase that to an 8 or 12-inch sewer, right, a portion of that proportionately would also be capacity. So we kind of quantify the project. You're not just replacing that lift station, but you're increasing the capacity of it, right? So a portion of that is replacement, portion of that is capacity. Same with the pipelines, and it kind of gets weighted on the work that we're doing.
Okay, thank you. I also have one more question. So I think this is the first project that I've been privy to that has had 3 amendments. And, you know, usually the estimates are pretty spot on. Can you, just for the benefit of us in the room and the benefit of the public, can you talk a little bit about, you know, I understand scopes change sometimes, and sometimes things are unforeseen. Can you talk about where we are relative to budget on this project?
The design budget has been ongoing since 2019. So the project has been in conception for some time, and projects of this nature are a little more complicated than a normal linear infrastructure replacement project. It's a lift station, and we're doing multiple things, both to the influent gravity sewer, the force main discharge. We're actually extending the force main beyond its current discharge point in the intersection of Nordahl and Montiel Road. And additionally, we're rehabbing the influence. So there have been hurdles along the way with property acquisitions, one of them being additional easements being required for this project, which is currently ongoing right now. And also some design modifications beyond 60 and 90% design submittals. So an example of that is a change to the grading design that was required to the neighboring hotel development. We were anticipating being able early on to essentially be able to perform our project improvements under their future grading permit, and that broke down. We're going to perform our own grading plan with the city and permit it appropriately with the city in advance of the development coming in, so we can get this done and essentially open up possibilities for future development. With that, there's just a lot of moving parts in a project like this. There's been some delays. I don't want to blame COVID 100%, but it definitely was a factor. Design delays that were born on the consultant side, which we worked through and continue to work through. So the good news is that we are in final design, and we really are at the finish line. We just have to make one more push, and I am not expecting any other design amendments to come forward.
James, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to say with this opportunity, one of the reasons we have amendments, we actually extended the scope of the force main. The sewer line in Norwell Shopping Center goes from 15 feet to, over by Costco, it's 25 feet deep. And because of the work of Ryan and his team, we realized that we could just extend the force main, which is only 4 to 5 foot deep, which is significantly cheaper. It's a smaller line, and you only dig down 4, 5, 6 feet instead of digging down 25 feet. So, which was a separate CIP project. So it's not shown on the budget page on 118 here, but that saves almost $1 million in future CIP costs that we were able to absorb in this project with their work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Snell.
Yeah, just to clarify, because as we were talking, more questions came to mind. Are you just building the red section?
No. The red section shown here with the pump where the leader is pointing to, where the arrow is pointing to, that is where the lift station is going to be replaced. And it's a full overhaul of the existing lift station. The red line is the existing force main, and it discharges into the gravity sewer there at Nordahl and Montiel Road. We are extending that force main. Basically, if you follow where the line then turns green, and then it would jog left and parallel the 78, we're going to actually discharge into the gravity section. They're kind of past Costco. It's off the map. But the discharge there will be past the Costco, and that's where AGM Gumpel is talking about. This section of Green Line is undersized, and it's actually its own CIP project. And we absorbed that CIP project into this project. So by extending that force main, we're going to alleviate the flows that 8-inch gravity would normally see if we were to discharge in Nordahl. So we're going to extend past that. That 8-inch can stay as it is, maybe rehab it in the future, and then just discharge down there by the Costco.
Okay, so that particular road and part of the city is already pretty difficult to drive on and travel with the multiple stoplights and heavy traffic with the retail center. What's the plan as far as mitigating our traffic impacts from our project, both on Nordahl and also through the shopping center?
We're working that out currently with the City of San Marcos traffic impacts, and there is some potential that we'll be working at night hours during construction of the intersection work at Nordahl. Specifically, Nordahl and Montiel is very, very congested. Montiel itself, where we are a bit off the center line, we're to the north of the street, so traffic control there, I think, will be controllable during the day. But again, through the shopping center, we do expect some, community feedback during construction, and we're working with the City of San Marcos to make sure that we're in compliance with their traffic control requirements.
How about the businesses? Are you working with them as well?
The businesses will all get notified of our project well in advance when we come through. So we don't, we'll work with Chris Robbins' team to make sure that all those business owners have proper advance notifications of when the work will come through. The nice thing about the force main, it's a pressure pipe, like a water pipe, so we don't need to be deep. We can be very shallow. It's 4 feet deep, and it's only a 6-inch diameter force main. They're going to be able to bury that and move quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's something to benefit you. We can tell that's a story we can tell the businesses that really resonates. That replacing that deep sewer is going to take a lot longer. That force main's going to be shallow. It's going to go quick. So that's a great story to tell.
It's just important. I know that we're required to notify them, but beyond just notifying them, it'd be nice to have a conversation with them, learn a little bit maybe from their concerns, because as you can just kind of see where it runs, right? There's gonna be probably days, maybe weeks at a time where customers might have a difficult time getting to those businesses, right? And so we want to try to be a good community partner with both the city and also our local business community.
Absolutely. That's our intention as well.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Just quick one, yeah. So the current lift station, I mean, it seems like it outperformed by about 30 years. One, how did you guys do that? And then two, what's the life expectancy of this new lift station?
Really give all the credits to operations and collections who have to respond in those emergency situations that come about when the pumps get ragged up and they fail. They're the ones who are really on the scene, not us. I was just a youngster in 1985. I can't really speak to why things were done that way. You can see the lift station from the freeway as you're driving by. You see the Coles Fine Flooring building, and then right next to that, you see almost what looks like a little shed with an antenna mast, and that's the existing station. Obviously, everything that's going on is mostly underground, so you're not going to see it anyway. But we are going to overhaul this with a state-of-the-art lift station, you can say. Brand new everything, pumps, piping, appurtenances, and for all intents and purposes, you could say the design life on this new station will be about 50 years.
Oh, really? 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like.
Yeah, there may be some components within it that have to be replaced more often, like the pumps and motors,
Right,
things
right.
like that. But the structure and the overall infrastructure will be a long time.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second?
It's been moved by Director Hernandez, seconded by Director Penick to move staff's recommendation. Go ahead and vote. And it carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action item 3.2, adoption of resolution approving an addendum to the 2018 Program Environmental Impact Report for the Montiel Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project.
So this involves the same project and the same presenter. And by the way, I hate when people say I was just a youngster in '85. I'll be speaking with Ryan after that. So
Thank you.
Ryan, take it away.
No offense taken. Okay, thank you, General Manager Prom. This next item, same project. I'm going to spare the directors the same background introduction. But for the adoption of the resolution approving an amendment to the 2018 Program Environmental Impact Report for the Montiel Lift Station project. And it's with that, as I mentioned, the project is currently in final design, and as part of Michael Baker's scope of work, an evaluation of potential environmental impacts was needed for the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and an addendum to the certified 2018 Water, Wastewater, and Recycled Water Master Plan Program Environmental Impact Report, or just PEIR, as I'll refer to it from here on out, was required and was prepared to address proposed infrastructure improvements under CEQA guidelines. CEQA Guidelines Section 15164 requires a lead agency to prepare an addendum to a previously certified EIR if some changes or additions are necessary, but none of the conditions described in Section 15162, which call for preparation of a subsequent supplemental EIR, have occurred. The project improvements, as currently designed, remain in substantial conformance with those originally identified in the 2018 Master Plan, and as evaluated in the certified 2018 PEIR. The addendum demonstrates potential environmental impacts and required mitigation measures for the project remain consistent with those previously identified in the PEIR. As discussed in the addendum, the project improvements identify, number one, would not result in any new significant environmental impacts or substantially increase any previously identified significant effects. Two, there are no new circumstances under which the improvements will be undertaken that would cause any new or more severe significant effects. And three, there is no new information showing the improvements would have new or more severe significant effects, or that there are new feasible mitigation measures or alternatives that would reduce any identified significant effects. None of the conditions identified in section 15-162 have occurred. Therefore, the preparation of a subsequent EIR is not required. Pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15-164, the addendum is intended to inform the district's consideration and action on the project. Staff has prepared a resolution approving an addendum to the PEIR for the project, which includes mitigation monitoring measures. If the board adopts this resolution, which includes written findings, the measures are more effective in avoiding potential significant effects. Staff will file a notice of determination with the San Diego County Clerk and a certificate of fee exemption with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Filing of notice of determination commences the 30-day statute of limitations for legal challenges to the addendum. Upon adoption of the resolution, staff will complete the final design and anticipates release of the project for bid in November of 2022 this year. The certified PEIR and addendum are on file and available at vwd.org. Fiscal impact, as I mentioned, funding is provided 49% through the district sewer capacity fund and 51% through the district sewer replacement fund. Total project budget is $7.215 million. Michael Baker International provided engineering, design, and environmental services, including production of the addendum for a time and materials not to exceed fee of $49,188. And this is included in the fiscal year 22-23 approved budget. It is with this, staff recommends adopting the resolution approving the addendum to the certified 2018 Water, Wastewater, and Recycled Water Master Plan Program Environmental Impact Report for the Montiel Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project. This resolution also directs staff to file a notice of determination with the San Diego County Clerk and a certificate of fee exemption with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions of Ryan? Go ahead.
The top of the lift station, in the current design, are there solar panels planned?
No solar, no. Only a small panel, solar panel for SCADA, for our SCADA
Okay.
tower.
I mean, I know we're at the final design phase and we've amended it now 3 times, but I wonder, is there an opportunity to think about ways to collect solar and store it so that we could have some backup power there? Because that's part of it, right? We have to have room for backup power.
Yeah, as part of the district-wide solar project, which was completed last year, we had a consultant evaluate multiple district locations and facility sites.
This wasn't one of them.
This was not one recommended. Ultimately, the lift station sits in a 40 foot by 40 foot easement, which is not very big. It sounds bigger than it is, I think.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know how much potential for solar production generation, meaningful solar production generation on this site that there would be.
Okay. Thank you for
Yeah, and that control room.
for indulging me in that question.
Yeah,
I
that
appreciate
control room is very small as well, so it is a pretty small footprint
Okay.
to get something substantial, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll go ahead and move to approve staff's recommendation to adopt the resolution. If I could get a second.
Second.
Second from Director Sinella. Can you please vote? And it carries unanimously. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action item 3.3, award of professional services agreement for the asset management plan project.
Yeah, so the district embarked on the asset management program about 3.5 years ago, and tonight you're going to hear about a significant milestone in the development of that program. And presenting today is Eric Bennett. So Eric's one of our newest employees, only been with us less than 2 months, so be kind. And he's our asset management supervisor. He replaced Susan Bowman. So Eric, take it away.
Thank you, General Manager. Good evening, directors. Let's go in here.
Can get his mic.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm going now.
We're trying to drive and.
Okay. So good evening. This agenda item will provide an update of the asset management program and include a request to approve moving forward with an asset management plan development as approved by our consultant. There we We will begin with reviewing the principles of asset management, including its goals and its objectives, then review how the program aligns with the district's strategic plan. After that, we'll review the process for developing an effective asset management program and where we are within it. We will then move to what an asset management plan is, its goals and its benefits. Next, review the development process of an AMP or the asset management plan. Then we'll recover the project's budget and projected spend, and lastly, propose next steps. So asset management, what is it? To me, it's best defined by its goals. The ultimate goal of asset management is to create a shift from reactive management of the district's assets to a proactive management. We achieve that goal by answering each of these questions, and from their answers, create facilities and infrastructure that are reliable, proactively maintained, and appropriately funded while anticipating future demands. The district has already been working to answer many of these questions through various projects, such as the Land Outfall West Condition Assessment and Ductile Iron Pipe Condition Assessments, Water System Leak Tracking, and integrating the district's CMMS and GIS systems. As the board may remember, asset management is defined in the Vallecitos Water District's strategic plan as the following. Strategy 1.1, asset management, is basically gathering and analyzing data from all aspects of our district to build a clear picture of what, where, and when we need to act. Strategy 1.2 is the replacement schedule. Developing the replacement schedule is one of the outputs of the program. This can be tailored to multiple types of assets, pipes, pumps, vehicles, to help us plan for future needs. So this slide depicts the process for building an effective asset management program. We begin with prepare, including some of the tasks that we're already working on, including the GIS and CMMS integration, the various condition assessments. We move to develop, which is creating asset hierarchies or business process mapping, which includes standard operating procedures. Then we go to implement, where we would create the asset management plan and develop the renewal and replacement schedule. Then from there we move to perform. We're analyzing our key performance indicators, monitoring the program's performance, and then reassess, constantly reassessing and analyzing the data we're gathering. So where are we in this process? We are currently in the implementation phase. We are this far because the program has been active over the past couple of years via various condition assessment projects, aligning our GIS and CMMS systems and expanding the data collected from our CMMS system, which is Maximo. The most recent step was opening an asset management RFP, asset management plan RFP, receiving proposals, interviewing consultants, and selecting one to move forward with. That firm is Black & Veatch. The district has history with the firm, as Black & Veatch have recently completed the master plan for the district, and Black & Veatch were chosen for this project based on their experience, expertise, and history with the district. So the asset management plan. The goal of an asset management plan is to be a roadmap for the district's asset management program. It is intended to be a document that is continually updated, reassessed to help help the district accurately direct resources where they are needed. This will be accomplished through analytical tools used to develop, as we see here, the asset inventory and its condition, assess the remaining useful life, develop renewal and replacement schedules, and funding forecasts based off those renewal and replacements. Besides being a good business practice, a few of the benefits of an asset management plan are better decisions through data analysis, improved regulatory compliance, improved system reliability and long-term system integrity, future cost savings through reduced O&M expenses and long-term capital expenses, possibly mitigating environmental impacts through reduced emergencies, as we saw with Moniel, possibility of reducing wastewater spills, or reducing unnecessary excavations near sensitive habitats. And also it helps the district have a planned out and more stable capital spend.
And I want to pause on these benefits for a minute, because I don't know if Eric underscores the importance of the benefits of this program. And when you look in the news and you look at what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi, and the water crisis there and the impact to the community, you know, we're really proud here of the gains that we've had here with the asset management program that Eric mentioning. You know, looking at those questions: what's the condition of our assets? What's the likelihood of a failure? And what's the consequences of those failures? And really, this plan that we're talking about, this AMP, is all about that system reliability, and you know, collecting that data and using that data to really make those driven decisions on what assets we're going to replace, when, and how. And that's all tied into that fiscal responsibility. And the board's had many presentations about our reserve levels and how we tie that in with our CIP project, and it's all related to this asset management plan. And the asset management, we know it can't predict every pipe failure, every pump failure, but that is actually the goal that we're reaching for, and that's where we eventually want to get. So we're really excited about this plan and the next steps with Black and Veatch.
I'm grateful that you are doing this, and I like the way that you just explained that, because, you know, from someone who's doesn't have a background in water, you know, my question, I've asked it several times during these meetings, is, well, how do you know if this is something that we need to do immediately? Is it a nice to have or is it a need to have? And I think for the benefit of the public and our ratepayers, it's also very useful when we can assess and sort of assign probabilities to, you know, what the odds are that this is going to happen, and more importantly, the consequences. So I'm thrilled that you're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Yep, keep going.
All right. So with that, we'll move into developing an asset management plan and the most colorful slide in our deck. So this is the development scope that is proposed by our consultant. The consultant will guide district staff through each of these tasks, and they're all designed to compile data, build towards the next, eventually helping the district make more well-informed, data-driven decisions. Right? And we put this on here so we could also visualize the deliverables and the tasks the consultant will be assisting us with. And here we put the consultant's proposed fee, and we wanted to break it out by task and also have them weighted so you can see how labor intensive they could be for the consultant or us.
And if the board has any questions, our project manager, John McManus, is here from Black and Veatch to answer those questions.
I had a feeling he was from Black and Veatch.
Good. Okay, so moving on to the budget. Laser pointer. Okay. So the proposed budget for the current fiscal year for the asset management replacement schedule, fiscal year 22-23, is $273,000. Remembering that consultant's proposed fee is $306,000, and with projected spend, we are estimating the need for this current fiscal year 22-23 to be roughly $402,000. That leaves us with a difference of $128,000. We are asking the board to approve reallocating funds from fiscal year 23-24 to the current fiscal year 22-23 to cover those costs for this project. We're not asking for a budget increase. We're just asking for a reallocation of the funds.
So we had budgeted this amount for this project previously.
Yes, we figured more of it was gonna be spent next year. So we're asking to pull that money from next year, pull it back, or pull it forward to this year. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I'm trying, thank you, great presentation, and I'm glad John's here. It's called Black and Veatch, is that right? So I'm trying to understand the relationship between Vallecitos and Black and Veatch. Is it an ongoing relationship? I mean, we do asset management, we're developing a program, it's not like one and done. This is gonna go on for years and years and years. So is this a renewable contract? Is this teaching one program and then we're gonna do it in-house thereafter? I want just that relationship between the consultant and Vallecitos, and are we gonna take it from there? Or is it ongoing? Where does it go from here?
Yeah, so this contract, or this contract with Black and Veatch is a one and done. However, you're right, this is a ongoing process. Asset management doesn't begin and end. It's a change in philosophy, it's a change in process. What this asset management plan gives us a roadmap for where we need to go. This is step one on that plan. What step two is, we don't know. The plan's gonna lay that out for us, and then we'll evaluate that. What we can do in-house, we've got talent in-house. Of course, we wanna utilize that as much as possible where it makes sense, and then bring that expertise in that Black and Veatch brings when it's necessary to help train us, teach us. What are those industry standards? How does that gonna work with us? It's not a one-size-fit-all type of approach, obviously. So we anticipate that, yeah, there probably will be a next step as we refine the process, as we understand that we need more data, or collecting it better, or how we're analyzing it. So we would expect more. We don't know what that next step is yet, but this plan is gonna lay that out for us.
Okay, and that's what that is. It's a $300,000 roadmap.
Yep. And if they do a great job, they'll be invited back.
Okay, but then that roadmap how are we gonna execute that roadmap? I mean, the cost to execute is where I'm concerned about.
Yeah, that will be executed by Eric and his staff.
In-house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay.
There may be a need from time to time to go out and get other professional assistance. For example, condition assessment. Part of the roadmap will be assessing your assets. We don't always have the tools in-house, so we may come back either through the board's approval or my own approval to go forward and get a condition assessment done by a consultant if we don't have the appropriate expertise or equipment in-house. So I don't want the board to walk away thinking we spent $305 and we're done with asset management plans.
That was my concern.
Follow-up stuff. We don't know exactly what the future needs will be, but the roadmap will help us determine where we think we'll need resources to supplement staff resources.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be impacts to software, so there'll be some IT integration that some we may be able to do in-house, some we may have to outsource. There may be new programs that we have to acquire to provide those dashboards that we can really analyze that data better. So yeah, you're right. There will be some additional costs somewhere down the line.
But keep in mind, we're approaching $1 billion of assets. So it's a huge number that we're trying to protect and prolong the life of. So.
No, and like Director Wood-Hodgson said, yeah, I'm truly grateful that it's happening, because it needs to be done. And it's modeling after, is there any other agencies within San Diego County that are, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, have you used Black and Veatch or are doing this type of thing?
Yeah, there's many agencies locally. Carlsbad's doing a lot of condition assessment and asset management. They have an asset management department just like we do. Black and Veatch has done some great work for, it's Irvine. Yeah, exactly.
San Francisco Public Utilities, we recently completed some large asset management plans for those large companies and entities.
Yeah.
Gotcha. A lot of experience in California and done a lot of work inside California as well.
And part of that evaluation, when we looked at the proposals from the various firms, and we invited, I think, 5 submitted, just to give you some perspective. And I actually did reach out to Irvine, and their project was very similar to ours, so it was really nice to reach out to them. They responded, gave us some feedback on Black and Veatch. Obviously, it was very satisfactory, so that helped in our decision-making process.
You're not tired of California, huh? What was that? You're not tired of California yet?
No.
Okay, all right.
Born and raised.
Great. No, thank you. Thank you for their comment.
Okay, any other questions? Director Snow?
Hey, Glenn, I know this is a relatively new program for us. Refresh my memory, is it 2 or 3 years old?
It's probably 3, a little over 3. Susan joined us about 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2019.
So it was in that 2019 is when we really started going down the asset management program route.
Yeah, but we've been doing condition assessment and stuff since about 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I remember the conversation that the board had and ultimate approval of the position for Susan and now Eric. And I agree with my colleagues that I think it's well worth the investment and will prove an ROI over time. I was happy to see that there's been some progress since Susan has come on board. Would you say, Glenn or Eric, that, and I know that 2019, in between then and now, there was a pandemic, but are we on track, would you say, or are we behind?
Yeah, I think we're on track. We'd always like things to go a little bit quicker, but Up to this point, we've been trying to figure out what we don't know. And this, I think this asset management plan will help us determine more of the things that we don't know. But we spent a lot of time assessing our infrastructure out there, looking at our computer systems that are in place or not in place. So I'm comfortable with the progress we're making, and I'm confident that Eric and the team will move us forward. And I really look forward to the results of the asset management plan.
Okay, and then one more question. Could you go back to that budget slide? So the total budget for the roadmap is 704,000? Okay, and so if, assuming that you get approval tonight, we're going to be up to 401,000 of that? Okay.
For this fiscal year, correct.
Wow.
And sorry, we do have some other line items there. You may see leak detection, soil testing, and there's some other sort of ancillary things that we do on the side as well as we're continuing. This isn't just one path. There are other things that we're doing as well as part of this program that staff is doing.
Okay, and so, and not being in this business, I would have thought, you know, I understand consulting fees can be high, but I would have thought that the numbers of, you know, some of that testing and staff work would be a little bit higher. They seem relatively low to me compared to the total budget for this process. For the remainder of the budget post tonight, what are we looking at? What's reallocation mean? You know, what are we going to be doing with that? Basically $303,000. That's going to come after this.
After we pay Black and Veatch and they ride off into the sunset, there's going to be some. So up at the top, we've already spent $271,000, and again, that we've been working on this since 2017, on and off various programs, testing, leak detection, condition assessment, including now this AMP. So it's a multi-pronged approach.
Mm-hmm.
So we have already spent $271,000 since 2017, and then we've got that remaining. I have to do that math, but
Okay.
yeah, 400 and some odd thousand, right, to spend, which they're going to eat up a good chunk of that. We'll have about $100,000 left or so, and then you can kind of see those three line items: the leak detection, staff, and overhead, kind of get you that 100,000. So we're
actually closer to 704.
We're right
after
there.
tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're right there. Now, as we move forward into the budget process, you know, in the spring, we'll be looking at burn rate and all. Is there some of that going to bleed over? Will we need a little bit more? Have we discovered some new things that we want to chase down, or do we want to carve those out as separate items? We'll kind of evaluate that.
Okay, and then one last, I know I said one last question on the last one, but I would like to see, I mean, I'm assuming this is going to be a beautiful roadmap. It's going to be colorful and have all the bells and whistles, I hope. Will there be a presentation on it? I mean, it's ultimately $305,000, maybe even, you could argue $700,000 roadmap, right? And so,
yeah.
What can the board expect as far as future presentations and updates?
Yeah, so that very colorful slide had all these tasks and all these deliverables, and with each of these deliverables will be workshops. A lot of those will be staff. As we get toward the end, some of those will actually be with the board. So we'll be engaging the board and looking for feedback and really explaining the process and getting you know, your input as we get to the end of it. So yes, there will be presentations. I believe at least 2 in your scope.
Right. Okay, thank you. And then if you can just, as we go through this process for years to come, if we can kind of keep track and quantify that ROI, so we can kind of go back and compare that, yes, we made this initial investment of $700,000, but over the last decade, we've saved, you know, 2.1 million or whatever it is. So as a result of doing it, so.
Sure. Great. Yeah, and some of that will be really easy to quantify when we look at, when we do those condition assessments, right? And you find out, hey, we had 3,000 feet of pipe, but through the condition assessment, we only need to replace 500 feet of this. So right there, boom, instant savings, huge savings over just replacing it outright. And that's where we can really quantify a benefit to the ratepayers.
Yeah, I think some of it's easily quantifiable and some of it isn't. So for example, if we do something that prevented a spill or a line breakage, we don't know what that would have otherwise cost us, but it's almost invaluable, right? But some of it, we'll track what we can.
Thank you.
Kind of just on
And
that. Sorry. Go ahead.
And I remember that we had that big break that was $1 million break. So in the past, that was our assessment program. When something blew up, we fixed it. So I think this is very important. getting our ratepayers so that they don't have to worry about that if we can do those things in advance, so we don't have those big blow-ups. This is going to be money well worth it. So good job, keep it up, and we'll be waiting for that fantastic presentation. $1 million presentation.
Director Penny?
Well, you touched on it, just as far as quantifying. So the roadmap's going to tell us what we need to do. Will it also tell us the cost to do it? What you said, I know some of it's not going to be able to do it, but you guys need to make these changes. This is what's recommended. This is what it's going to cost to do our recommendations. Is that going to be part of the plan?
Yeah, I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, so there is one of the scope items to provide a renewal and replacement schedule. So we'll quantify what that cost would be to replace the different assets and what that timing is, so that you guys understand what that looks like, what that spend would look like, and then you can budget appropriately.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's really looking at their assets, like General Prum said, the $1 billion worth of assets. How are you going to replace those overused, and how are you going to work that into reserves and rates and whatnot?
Right.
But then there's going to be expenses as far as software and stuff that we'll have to purchase to provide these dashboards for us to look at and have all those bells and whistles to make those analysis. And so there'll be some cost assignment to that as well.
You read my mind.
Yeah, so this renewal and replacement program or schedule will be separate from the capital facilities master plan, I take it?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
What I would like to see, because I think we have a wealth of talent here on staff, I would like to see this asset management plan include some kind of transition plan. Maybe it is, and maybe, Vallecitos takes on some of that challenge, like maybe, if this is sort of Six Sigma based, maybe we train our employees on Six Sigma so that they can manage some of the implementation. This is a big bite. You've heard that from all of us in one shape or another, that this is a lot of money. And it is, this is going to be the bulk that sort of gets us started. But, when you ride a bike and you push the child and you say, keep pedaling, or when you take off the training wheels, there are going to need to be tweaks along the way. And it would be really nice if we could absorb some of that in-house using our own staff that's the most familiar with all of our assets after this initial big bite. I would like to see something like that. I don't know how feasible that is. That probably blew up your scope, and I don't know, but something like that. If nothing else, just conversations about it, and maybe identifying who would be good in that role to take that on. I think that would be really useful for the good of the district too.
Yeah, thank you. There will always be a need for our internal staff as part of this asset management program and plan. But there will be times when we have to look to the outside as well. So I think I can envision within the development of the asset management plan having some kind of a mapping exercise where you're saying this task, is it an internal task or is it an external task? And then as we go through subsequent budget years, we can keep the board updated as to what we're doing in-house versus not. Having said that, if we put too much onto staff, then there's other things that they won't be getting to, and it can be counterproductive with maintaining the assets. But we'll do the best we can to leverage the assets, including people that we already have.
Great. Okay.
We do have a recommendation for you tonight.
Okay.
All right.
The recommendation is from staff is to have no, it's on. Okay. The recommendation from staff is to ask the board of directors to authorize the general manager to execute professional services agreement with Black & Veatch in the amount of $305,750 for the asset management plan project, and to reallocate $128,391 from fiscal year 23-24 to the current fiscal year 22-23.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Hernandez, seconded by Director Pennick. Please vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action item 3.4, award of construction contract for the 16-inch emergency bypass pipeline rehabilitation project.
All right, so this is a big milestone on this project, and we're going from a first-time presenter to an infrequent flyer here. And so we have Lito Santos with us tonight, and he's a capital facilities engineer. So Lito's going to walk you through this project.
Thank you, General Manager. There we go. Good evening, Board of Directors.
I'm not sure why it's not delayed effect. Sorry.
Okay. Let me go ahead and maximize this real quick. Oh, there we go. Yeah. The emergency bypass has been presented to the board on a couple of occasions by our senior engineer, Ryan Morgan, for the professional services agreement for the design of the project, then again for the mitigated negative declaration for our CEQA documentation. This evening, I'll be presenting the contract award, as General Manager Prume mentioned. The emergency bypass was installed in 1969 and is constructed of Techite. Focusing your attention on the exhibit here, in orange is the emergency bypass, and typically raw sewage travels in an 18-inch pipe southbound on Rancho Santa Fe, and the emergency bypass allows us to divert flows along Brighton Glen or near Brighton Glen through this easement, and it travels westbound to Melrose, which then connects to the land outfall on Poinsettia, which then meets up to the Encina treatment plant, where the raw sewage would get treated and then discharged to the ocean or produce recycled water. The bypass is typically used during heavy rain events and can reduce flows to our treatment plant by 2/3. The bypass is a critical infrastructure that serves as a relief valve for our treatment plant and our sewer system in general. The bypass has experienced 3 breaks in the past 5 years and cost the district $186,000 in repair costs alone. And in 2020, due to the breaks and spills, the district was fined by the Water Quality Control Board for over $66,000. Combined with the breaks and fine, the district has paid over $250,000. Bypass has been non-operational since 2019, and in 2020, the project was prioritized by the district, and planning was initiated to repair, replace the asset, or rehabilitate it. During planning, staff added the parallel 12-inch fail-safe, which is the green line, to the project due to the cost savings and avoiding duplication of some of the work, such as design, mobilization, trenching, and site restoration. The fail-safe, like the bypass, has experienced multiple breaks in different sections and was installed in 1981 and is made out of ductile pipe of this material. Typically has about a 30 to 50-year lifespan on how they installed it. Board awarded the PSA, or Professional Services Agreement, to Adura last year in March. During design, rehabilitation was selected over replacement with advantages such as cost savings, less impact to the public, and less environmental impact. Rehabilitation will extend the life of both pipelines by 25 to 50 years. Rehabilitation involves installation of 8 manholes, trenchless installation of cured-in-place pipe liner in both pipelines for a combined length of 5,350 feet. Staff and Adura completed the design in June, advertised in July, conducted a pre-bid in August where 5 lining contractors and 4 general contractors attended. On Thursday, August 25th, staff conducted a bid opening, resulting with the lowest bidder, Burtech Pipeline, bidding the project for $1,696,000. Staff and council completed evaluation of the bid package, validating the Burtech Pipeline's bid as being responsible and responsive. In anticipation of the project going into construction, staff sent an RFP out for inspection, CM services, and geotechnical services from 2 as-needed consultants, and staff selected Valley CM. A complete breakdown of the budget can be found on page 131. Based on the approved budget of $3.3 million, Vertex bid of $1,696,000, and Valley CM services of $285 and $80. There is anticipated surplus of over $476,000. Staff recommends the following. Authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Vertex Pipeline in the amount of $1,696,000, subject to the provisions of the contract. Authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Valley CM in the amount of $285,000 or $285,080. With that, I'm available to answer any questions and would like to turn it back to the board.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I have one. What was the engineer's estimate? For the
It was $1,750,000, just $51,000 over, so within 3%.
Okay. And refresh my memory, the fail-safe, does that carry treated secondary?
Yes, Director Elithar.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Boyd Hodgson, seconded by Director Snell to move staff's recommendation. Please vote.
I'm still younger than our current general manager, right?
Yeah, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action item 3.5, fiscal year 2022 tactical plan initiatives, final report.
Thank you, President Elithar, for indulging us there.
Sure.
So we're here to talk about the fiscal year 21-22 tactical plan initiatives. I can't advance this. Thank you. All right, so the tactical plan, the purpose is to implement the objectives that were developed during the strategic planning process. So the board will remember that we adopted a strategic plan back in December, on December 15th of 2021, and it was basically a 5-year plan, 5 to 6 year look ahead. The strategic plan included 6 what were called strategic focus areas, and between all 6, they had a total of 20 supporting strategies. So each SFA had about 3 to 4 supporting strategies. The board also adopted a tactical plan called the fiscal year 22 tactical plan back on March 2nd of 2022. And our attempt was to try to get the tactical plan aligned with the budget cycle. So we did it on a fiscal year basis. So adopting it in March only left us 4 months in the fiscal year to accomplish these. Tactical plan FY22 contained 37 tactical plan initiatives. And an initiative is just a specific thing that you're doing that will help achieve the objectives in the strategic plan. And those 37 tactical plan initiatives addressed all 6 of the strategic focus areas and most of the supporting strategies within it. And again, it just covered the period of time from March 2nd of this year when it was adopted up until the end of the fiscal year, which was June 30th of this year. So at the end of the tactical plan period, so after June 30th, all the tactical plan initiatives were evaluated for completeness, and they were assigned one of three categories. It was either completed, and we had 19 that were completed out of the 37. It was either initiated and in process, but not completed, and 16 of those met that criteria out of the 37, and there was only 2 projects that were not initiated. So in total, 94.6% of the projects were either initiated or completed. And seeing as we only had 4 months to work on those, I think it was a pretty good success for our first tactical plan. And any tactical plan initiatives that were not completed, they'll be rolled forward. So we're not going to forget about it. We're going to say, well, we missed the milestone, let's forget about that. That's the first priority for populating the tactical plan 23. So FY23 tactical plan. First dibs will be on projects that weren't completed, and then we'll see what additional capacity we have to add on to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm not going to show you all of them. The staff report in the board packet on pages 136 through 142, it includes copies of all of the tactical, we call it the report card, so it shows all the tactical plans, the status, and there's some notes in there. So James, if you can go ahead one. So this is one of the page, I think this is page 136 in the board packet. And what I'm going to do is I just highlighted a few of them. I'm not going to go through all 37. And when I go through them, I'm going to pick some that we completed, some that were in process, and the 2 that we didn't initiate. We'll talk about those too. So all I'll be doing is going over the highlighted ones. If a board member has a question about any of them, myself or staff will be happy to address what we did and why maybe we didn't get as far as we'd like to. So the first one right at the top there, it's the analysis and report of no-des waterline flushing. So no-des, it's a proprietary product, and what it does is it allows you to flush your water lines and recirculate the water. Historically, water agencies, when they flush the lines, and they do that to get rid of accumulated sediment in the line, normally you'd flush the line by just opening a port, and the water would flush down the street, carrying the sediment with it, which was good, but the water would just be wasted, which is bad. So this system basically is a recirculating truck that filters the water, takes out all the sediment, puts all the clean water back into the water system. And in this era with conservation and the drought, it's more important than ever. So this was completed, and this was just to do an analysis and a report. So we satisfied that. What we've also done is we put in an order to purchase the equipment. So we're going to actually buy this equipment. It was approved in the budget. So we've actually gone beyond what it shows on the report. I don't know how long, given the COVID environment, I don't know how long it'll take us to actually receive the piece of equipment, train our folks, and actually deploy it out in the field. But it's an exciting thing to help us with our water loss. So the next one I want to talk about is the construction and acceptance of the Meadowlark Reclamation Facility Bioselector aeration basin improvements. So it actually missed the target by a little. I gave it a completed score because it was scheduled to go to the board before June 30th. It just didn't get on the board agenda until July 20th, but it's completed. That project was completed in the field, and the board accepted it, and the project is up and running right now. Working through some bugs in the process. Anytime you change the way you're treating wastewater, it takes some time, but that was a great performance by staff on that one. So the last one on this page I want to go over is the award construction contract for the emergency bypass rehabilitation project. This shows it was in process, wasn't completed, but you all just completed it tonight. So you just awarded this construction contract for that. So it was only in process because the board hadn't taken the action by June 30th. It would have been rolled over into FY23 tactical plan, but we just completed that aspect. Now, next year, there may be a tactical plan to say complete the construction, not just award a construction contract, but to complete the construction. So just because you awarded the contract doesn't mean it disappears from either the tactical plan initiatives, the tactical plan itself, or staff overseeing it. So next page.
Question on that, with the reallocation, we reallocated funds from 2024 to 2022 or whatever. Is that because we're ahead of schedule? Why did we do that? I don't know why we did that, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think you're referring to that was with the asset management plan where we're taking funds from FY. Yeah. So we took funds from FY23 for the asset management, or 24. Took it from 24 and moved it into 23.
Correct.
Yeah, we basically are ahead of schedule, accelerating the project, so we'll have less money left over, but we'll have gotten more of the work done.
That's
So,
Accelerate, okay.
yeah, thank you. So the one I wanted to highlight on this one is the advertise, a request for proposals for the land outfall parallel sewer siphon, and my screen just went out. That's interesting. Okay, I'll have to look over here. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You guys can still see it up there.
They still see it, the screen just went blank.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. So this one was, so again, is the, advertise the RFP for the land outfall parallel sewer siphon, Section A replacement. This is a big project. It did not get initiated, and you can see the comments on the right side, and it was delayed due to shifting priorities in other CIP projects. We only have limited people in the capital group. We had some funding constraints and staffing impacts, COVID, just priorities and workload. So we will be rolling this forward into next year, and we do envision that we'll meet this milestone in next tactical plan. Go ahead, James. Can you go back one? Did we miss one? Yeah, so what I want to highlight here is in technology, it's to complete the DHS or Department of Homeland Security upgrades for our critical infrastructure. Super important stuff. You want to make sure you're not subjected to hacking and cyber attacks, that type of thing. It was deemed complete. It was a 2-year initiative. In the first year, we wanted to get 50% of the recommendations implemented, and we did that. This will probably be rolling over to FY23 tactical plan to complete the other half to make sure we get it all done in the timeline specified.
Thank you for doing that. That, honestly, that keeps me up at night.
It's huge, and
Yeah.
it's not just us, but it's the industry, and even our insurance companies are realizing that this is a big issue with cyber ransoming. They're holding your data hostage, all that stuff. So it's never been a more important time to look into this than now.
Was there funding available?
I believe there is, and I'm not sure if it's for developing plans, but some of the implementation has funding. I don't have all the specific details, but I'll talk with our IT supervisor and make sure we're tapping in any funding sources that are out there. All right, another tactical plan initiative is under employee recruitment and retention. We wanted to research work schedule policies to increase flexibility. So we've actually done 2 things on that, and this was deemed in process. We've done 2 things. One is we allowed alternative flexible work schedules. So the employee, while they're here, they can maybe shift their hours. Maybe they live up in Temecula and the morning commute was terrible, so they wanted to start earlier or start later. They'll still get in there 8 to 9 hours a day. They just shifted their work schedule. So that's still a pilot project, hasn't been completed, but it's working pretty well. And the other thing we did is, and the board just adopted the telecommuting policy. So we were really trying to help our employees manage the workload and their private lives all at the same time. And we want to remain competitive. All of our competitors are doing the same thing. So this showed in process, but it's actually, I would say right now it's completed because the board did adopt the policy, and that's one of the milestones that we were going for. Fiscal management, so the one I wanted to talk about was implementing a new customer web interface for billing and payments. It was in process. As of June 30th, it was in process. It's gone live since then. And again, we're working through some bugs. Customers are struggling with it because they have to enter in data they may not have had to enter in before with complicated passcodes. You've all done it, right? One has to have a capital letter, a small letter, a number, and a character. So some people aren't loving it, but the system's working great. It's just an acceptance issue, but we'll get there. So again, was deemed in process, but it's complete as of now. School outreach, so the one I wanted to talk about was developing an intern program for Palomar College. It shows as in process as of June 30th, but the good news is that, and you all know this, we actually got the intern on board. His name was Greg. He came in, he completed his intern work. He was amazing. He had a great experience, and we're ready to embrace our new intern. So Chris Robbins is already working with Palomar College to go through the process to see if they have another intern in the reach for us, and we'll work through it. Now we're trying to manage this with staffing workloads because it's nice to have interns here, but it does take a certain amount of time for staff to help manage them, right? So it's not an open door where anybody just can come in, but the first experience couldn't have been better. It was an awesome experience, I think, for the district and for the intern himself, and hopefully for Palomar College. And we're going to be meeting with Palomar College to kind of do that lessons learned. Is there any way we can make it more productive, more effective? But couldn't be happier. And again, thanks to the committee for helping us go through that whole process, selecting the intern and monitoring the progress all the way through.
So on that, my understanding is Cuyamaca just started a new water program as well. Were you aware of that? I think it's just fairly new.
I think their program is probably actually better than Palomar's.
Cuyamaca?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been.
Longer than been along.
Yeah, so
They have-
Palomar used to be the premier one, and I think Cuyamaca is actually the better program now, but Palomar's trying to rebuild their program back up.
Okay.
Nice problem
I
to
think
have.
you mean to say we have a lot of choice in our community colleges in the local area from which we can derive
Yeah.
wonderful talent.
Right, what did you think I said? Yeah, no, that's exactly what I wanted to say. No, it's a good problem to have, right? When you have these two competing programs that produce this wealth of talent that'll help the industry, it's amazing.
Oh, I thought Cuyamaca was a new one, so they've been rock and
No,
roll
they've been
for a
around
while.
quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
And you've probably heard me say the numbers before, but the Water Authority, when they surveyed all the agencies, they predict in the next 5 years, there's gonna be about 1,100 new jobs in this industry in San Diego County alone. That's a huge number, so all those, the people we saw today and other people that are interested in getting into this workforce, now's the time to do it. So one more, okay, let's see, we have a couple here on this page. The first one is the Meadowlark Reclamation Facility Direct Potable Reuse Feasibility Evaluation. So this is another project that did not get initiated, and it was simply a workload issue. We've had a lot of, the group that would be managing this has been inundated with development stuff. So we've been diverting the resources towards the immediacy of these projects that are being developed, and it's inhibited our ability to move forward at the pace we would like to. Plus, I will say, we're monitoring what Encina is doing, right? So Encina has their own project that's kind of similar to a potable reuse project, and I don't want to get too far ahead, so we want to make sure that we understand what they're doing as we move forward, so. I keep getting a message popping up here. Yeah. And so the last one, maybe the last one, at least on this page, is develop a plastics policy. That was completed, and the board did pass a resolution back in February of 2022, so.
That's within the district, or is that plastics throughout as far as waste?
In our district, so the use in the district, right. And James, is there one more? Okay, so I think that's it, and this is, I just sampled maybe 8 or 9 of the 37, just to give you a feel. They're in the packet, and happy to answer any questions that the board may have. And again, just as a reminder, things that weren't completed, you'll see them again in FY23 tactical plan, and that'll either be coming to the board for approval on September 21st or the first meeting in October. So we're putting it together right now.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Just congratulations, truly. That's a lot of work that was accomplished in a short period of time.
Yeah, thank you. And it touched almost everybody in the organization, right? It's such a widespread thing. Those 6 strategic focus areas, they're not in any one particular area. It touches virtually everything that we do.
So that remote work that we approved last time, how was that received from the?
So good. I mean, it raised expectations, and the staff is excited. We had some implementing things, and I think things that we had to work through before we opened the doors. I think just last week, we sent out the email to staff inviting them to submit their letter of, or an email of interest. Say, you know, what is it, are you interested? What are you looking for? How many days a week? And then what our commitment to them is within 2 weeks of receiving their request, we'll respond to them. Because we're gonna have to be looking to the supervisors and managers to make sure that we can, which requests can we accommodate and which ones we can't. Some jobs we may see that doesn't really work at home. Some we may say, yeah, it's a good candidate, but we can't have all of you in this work group off on the same day. So there'll be a lot of that going on. And I think most people will be happy. Not everybody will get everything they want, but we'll try to accommodate as many requests as we can.
Thank you.
And again, that'll be a pilot project. And you recall that initially we indicated the supervisors wouldn't be eligible, and the board asked us to make the supervisors eligible after an initial 3-month evaluation. So that was conveyed to all the supervisors as well.
Great.
All right, thank you. That item was for information only, so that ends our action items. So we'll move on to reports. Next is General Manager.
Yeah, just 2 quick ones. COVID won't go away. So we have an outbreak in Building B right now. So an outbreak means that you have 3 people that have tested positive within a 14-day period. So we're managing that, and that clearly changes things. People from Building B aren't supposed to come over to A, and they have to wear masks. So it's all that, but fortunately, all the work is getting done. We're able to keep moving things forward, and the water's flowing, and the other stuff's moving downhill, and that's good, but it may jeopardize our employee appreciation event. So we were scheduled for next Thursday, September 14th. At this point, I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll make a determination tomorrow for sure, and we'll let you know. And I appreciate that it's blocking out your calendar, and I know that. So we'll try to resolve it and make a decision as soon as possible. We won't cancel it. We'll reschedule it if we move it, but and then we'll maybe shoot for another date. But as of right now, we haven't made a final decision. It's been tough to conduct this event. We've been trying for this is almost 3 years now. We've been trying to get this thing going.
That's why all these gifts are piling up.
Yeah, it's just a tough one. Yeah, that's right.
Well, they're getting used.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was this continued high heat we've been having, and you've probably all seen these requests from the state to reduce power consumption. I just want to assure the board that we're doing everything that we can. Some of it's been in response to that request, and some of it was actually preemptive and before the request. Our investment in solar is a great example. All that investment was that much less power that was being drawn from the grid. So if we had not done what we had done, it would have made the situation even worse. We're doing what we can subsequent to the request. For example, we're running a generator at one water pump station during peak hours so that we're not drawing power from the grid at peak hours. We're running a generator, but that's not great for the environment either. We don't want to do that, but you know, there's a priority here right now, and I think the immediacy of getting a reliable power grid is deemed to be more important than the extra emissions coming out of the portable generators.
Yes, I assume the state has waived the emergency generator criteria.
Yeah, thank you. Good point. So normally, we're only allowed to run generators like once a month for an hour a month to do testing. And what the state has said is that, this is, when I say the state, it's like the Air Pollution Control District. They monitor us every year. They look at the run hours on your generator. They have made an exemption and said, hey, if you're running it for the purposes of helping out with the power grid during declared periods of emergency, those won't count against your run hours. So that's great. I just talked with Ed today about keeping good records to make sure that when we submit our reports, we identify what was for our testing needs or our own personal emergency needs versus, hey, we were helping out the state on a broader level.
That's self-reported, or is that inspected?
Sometimes they'll do inspections. They'll come out to you have to keep a log, so they look to check on your records. A lot of it is just submit your records, but they're not against coming out, and they do it quite often to come out and visit in the field and say, show us your log, show us your run records, why did you run it, how long did you run it, that type of thing.
That was one of the things that was brought up at the conference here at the water conference here, that a lot of districts that are just running these generators for that hour or so are not running them on a full load for a full long period of time and finding that the generator's not performing. So there's some work at hand trying to get the EPA to say, okay, we're going to have to figure a way to let you test a full load for a full period.
Yeah.
So maybe there's going to be some help in the future.
Yeah, because if we ever have to rely on our backup generators,
Right.
we want to know that we can run a full load.
Yes.
Right. That's all I had to report.
Okay. Next is District Legal Counsel.
Yeah, just had a couple of things. First comment, they're suggesting indoor temperature at 78. I think it's much cooler than that in here, because I'm shivering, but, so the first item is just SB 222, which is the Affordable Water Act, was passed through. It's sitting on the governor's desk. As of yesterday, we're just kind of waiting to see. That was a bill that ACA was opposed to unless amended, so we'll see what happens with that. The second item was just really a request that I'd gotten from Glenn about how we're handling our committee meeting minutes, and it's sometimes awkward for folks to approve the minutes when you weren't at the committee. And so those are on our agendas as under minute approvals. You approve the minutes of the two committees and the closed session and the board meeting. One alternative you may want to consider that some other agencies are doing is they're listing committee reports, and so you'd actually have a monthly report from those committees, and then at that time the board receives the minutes from the committee. They don't approve them, but they just receive them. So that's a suggestion in response to the question that I was asked about that. So Other than that, I don't have any other comments.
All right, thank you. Next is San Diego County Water Authority. The board met in its regular August meeting on August 25th. Just wanted to note a couple of items. The board authorized the general manager to award HDR Engineering Incorporated with a professional services contract to assist in reviewing, presenting, moderating, and discussing future rate design approaches and alternatives with the member agency rate work group. That was important for working with the member agencies. The other item of note, out of closed session, there was announcement of the public employee appointment of the new general counsel for the Water Authority. His name is David Edwards. He comes from Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and he's replacing Mark Haddam, who's been there, I don't know, 15 years? A long time. Mr. Haddam's retiring, so anyway. Okay, moving on to Encina Wastewater Authority.
The Capital Committee will be meeting next week and the board the week after.
All right. Standing committees. Anybody meet? No? Okay.
Did we ever confirm, Mr. Chair? I know that you were trying to collect dates for the Hilltop meeting. Has that been confirmed?
Not yet, we're still waiting. We just got the report that we were going to use as the basis of updating that. So
Okay.
it'll probably be next week.
All right.
I'll reach out for dates.
So you mean that the committee meeting might be next week?
Well, yes, the ad hoc committee meeting, yes.
Okay, reach out to me. I'll be traveling on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll send out a request maybe.
Yeah, we got the conference towards the end of that week.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, then.
Okay, next is director's reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Yes, I attended the Urban Water Institute conference. A couple of things that came out of that was the PFAS and the capital climate change. And the PFAS it intrigues me. They're looking at 500 parts per trillion. And just to give you a scale of that, it's 28 minutes in a million years. 28 minutes in a million years. If you're worried about PFAS, I don't know how the hell you get out of bed. I mean, really. I mean, they can't even test it, but they're looking at it. And so, and as I heard from the conference, apparently we don't have any manufacturers in the United States that are using PFAS, but we're still getting certainly product from outside of the country. So there's been a great deal of work being done and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that seems to be going in the wrong place, in my opinion. Climate change is always big. They're trying to look at the way the atmospheric rivers are producing, where they're going, where they're not going. So that's going to be a continual theme throughout the rest of the conferences and probably our lifetime. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, any other conferences attended?
Actually, I did, yeah. Went to a couple, actually. Dan and Anthony are keeping me busy. Thank you. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to go. Thank you for all the work that you guys did to get me there safely and back safely and stay in a nice place. Thank you. Went to Tahoe for the same one. I think we were at Tahoe, then we went to Desert Hot Springs. So when I come back from these conferences, I actually have more questions than just reporting.
Good.
So some of these might, I don't know if it's something for future agenda items or whatever, but a few questions. One that came up was, where was it? As far as our wastewater plant, have we ever thought about, or is there any talk about Meadowlark being using, recycled biosolids to fertilizer? Has it ever been discussed? Some wastewater plants are actually pretty profitable in turning that into fertilizer.
So Encina already does that for us. We don't have any solids treatment at Meadowlark.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. We don't do anything at Meadowlark.
No, so when we go through the wastewater treatment process at Meadowlark, we basically separate the solids and then we take those solids through the solids line and deliver them to Encina so they can process the solids into biosolids. that can be used for fertilization and other uses.
Are those resold?
Well, they're trying to develop a market. And you have two people here that could probably answer better than
Are
I.
we getting anything
we get-
from them?
We get 20 tons, a day, at least 5 days a week. And I and a couple other private individuals, we put a group together to try and market that. It doesn't have any nitrogen, no nitrogen, it's 550. And all the growers, and I've met with 50 of them at least, they're usually using liquid or chemicals, and when they don't have any nitrogen in it, we sold 20 tons in a year. So it was really not,
So
and,
we're just dumping it 5 miles out?
what's that?
No, it's hauled to.
Oh, it's hauled to Yuma.
Yeah, it's
Land spread,
it's land applied, it's
Yeah,
not
land
put out in
applied.
the ocean.
I have encouraged the district, the authority, to try and to mesh with another company to see if maybe we can blend it and then get a product put together, but not been successful as of yet.
Gotcha, okay. The cost to haul that to Yuma must
Well,
be,
yeah, and the carbon footprint of all those
Yeah.
truckloads.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's gotta be another option. Infuse it with nitrogen,
Yeah.
shoot
well,
it up.
We could,
Huh. Let's see, LAFCO. I don't know much, I hear a lot about it, but I don't know much about it. Do we have any representation from Vallecitos on LAFCO?
I don't remember if we have a representative for LAFCO. I don't think we do.
And what's our relationship with them and why not? I guess is
So
my question.
our relationship is LAFCO generally governs local agencies.
Right.
So.
And how are
it's
we
in
looked-
Local
yeah.
Agency Formation Commission, right? That's what it means. But what they do is monitor to make sure that services are being provided to the public in the most efficient manner that doesn't result in duplication of services or people that aren't served. So they'll manage things like disputes between where Vallecitos boundary should end and where VID should pick up. You know, if you want to change your service area, you go to LAFCO.
Or whether agencies want to detach from.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the most pressing one in San Diego County is you have Rainbow and Fallbrook want to detach from the county water authority. LAFCO's involved because it involves the provision of services to the public by multiple agencies.
So that's as far as our relationship, are we, they see us as complying and we're doing great with them, or do we have some violations or problems?
No, I think we've been in good stead. We interact with them from time to time. If somebody wants to annex to our service area, sometimes there's annexation processes that involve LAFCO's oversight. So they'll oversee it and make sure that they think it's complying with all the other boundaries that have been established. They don't want turf wars about who's providing water service to that one homeowner. So they help manage that. But I think we're in really good stead. We have a good relationship with them. We don't interact with them a lot.
You'd only interact with them if you're generally getting acquired or wanting to acquire, expand.
So that was gonna be my follow-up.
Yeah, because like if Vista Irrigation District wanted to expand, then they'd put you on the radar and you'd be over to LAFCO.
And that's exactly what are we on the radar? And hopefully, by not being on the radar, that's a good thing. Would it benefit us if we had representation as a member on LAFCO?
I would say only if we had some pressing objective, whether we wanted to play offense in some way or felt we had to defend ourselves. Years ago, there was talk about the city of San Marcos taking over the water district. And the district said, well, let's team up with, I think it was VID at the time, and said, there's strength in numbers, right? So they did that, the district did that as a defensive move to try to avoid being taken over by the city of San Marcos. So that may be a good example. If you start hearing rumblings that the city's gonna take over the water district, we may need to have conversations about the best way to position ourselves. Or if we said, hey, there's a small district next to us, we want to take them over, then you'd need to get more involved. But I'm not aware of anything that the district wants to do that would require active involvement with LAFCO.
Yeah, and Jim, the CSDA meetings that we went to, the dinner, I don't know the frequency of the elections for LAFCO, but there is opportunities for our board members to get involved and to run for that. And the CSDA at one of the dinners, either annually or every other year, hosts like a candidate forum for the LAFCO, the interested parties for LAFCO. So there is a process. So, and I know we get communicated when that comes up. I just don't know the timing of it all.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but
We
Yeah.
have voted recently. We had candidates come in and speak to us about it.
yeah.
It's been at least a year and a half, but it
Yep.
was, yeah.
But you're right, whenever we get that notification from LAFCO that there's seats available, we bring it to the board to see if anybody's interested in throwing their hat in the ring. It's been a while. It's easily been over a year, I know.
Gotcha. No, and just, and great meetings. I mean, there's a lot that comes out of it, and I didn't have a chance to put it all together, but good stuff. The only other thing that came up, I mean, there's a ton of money out there, state, federal, local, whatever. Do we have somebody in-house that's applying for all that money that's available?
Well,
And how do we become aware of it? How do we apply for it, and are we doing it, I guess?
So a couple things. Maybe I'll look to James for that, because he's actively involved in a group, a way to get the money, and then there's other areas too. But James, go ahead.
It's absolutely. So for a lot of our projects, we've been partnering with the North County Coalition Group to get money, and we've actually are getting close to $2 million for our chlorine contact tank expansion, which is about a $5 million job between state and federal grants. They'll come over several rounds, but it looks like we're a key position. I think we've got almost that whole $2 million already secured. Besides that, we work with consultants. So a lot of times when you hear Jason's group come up and say, we're getting a scope, a lot of times in that scope is if there's a grant opportunity for some of that things, like a study, for example, that DPR study that we haven't started in the strat plan. Part of scope when we get a consultant on board will be to go get grant funding to help fund the study itself and also identify future grant funding for a potential pilot project. And all that stuff will be laid in front of the board at the time, if we're successful. So we do look at it.
We're made aware of that through like a coalition that we belong to?
Yeah, so we'll do that individual project by project through consultants, through the consultant, because they have the expertise.
Mm-hmm.
That coalition that we belong to uses a consultant for all that, and we all pay for it. There's 10 members, so we pay 1/10, which helps kind of spread the cost out.
And we have a stable of consultants that we use. We call them our as-needed consultants, because we never know what we're going to need them for, but we want them ready. And the board approves those, and some of those consultants, they would help us with grant applications and processing grants.
Gotcha.
But remember, most of that money isn't free. It's usually got a lot of matching. For example, a lot of the Bureau of Reclamation, the federal dollars, they may give you 25 cents for every dollar that you need. So it's good if you have a project that you know you're going to do, it's good to get 25% of the project potentially funded, but it's not worth going after the money to build something you otherwise wouldn't need, because you got to throw in 75 cents for
Right.
every quarter you get.
Yeah. It's like, okay. No, understood, thank you. No, great meetings, great information. The more I learn, I don't know, but that's all right.
It's good to know what you don't know.
I'm still learning acronyms.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, so I did attend the CESDA meeting earlier this month, or later last month, but there was a presentation by Sandag, which was not water related, of course, not really even special district related, but I think transportation impacts that, all special districts and all of us personally. It was an interesting presentation, some interesting bits of information that came out of it that I think will be most relevant to us here in North County is that there is no plan to add lanes to 78. That's the first time that I've heard them admit that publicly. There are plans to improve the interchange between 78 and 5 and also 78 and 15, but other than the interchanges, don't expect any more lanes, which is disappointing. I believe that when they sold us on the Transnet sales tax increase that a few years ago, that 78 was a big part of that, and I think a lot of people voted for it, thinking that they were going to get some relief with the traffic congestion on 78. The other tidbit is that the presenter, I forget her name, but she's probably in the top 3 or 4 at the agency, actually said from the stage that you will not have a personal vehicle in 2035. Do you remember that, Jim? And,
Yeah.
And I'm counting in my head. I'm like, that's 13 years from now. My goal is not to have 2 cars in 2035, but I don't know how I'm not going to have one.
She meant powered by anything, or?
No cars.
Nothing.
And so
She went to the edge.
Yeah, so so we all know that there's a push to promote electric cars right now, but I think Sandag's vision is to promote no cars, and they want to really create a public transportation system that is taxpayer funded, so anybody can just hop on and off of it. It's going to use a lot of technology, which, 13 years from now, there's probably going to be a lot more technology that we don't even know about today. And then part of that vision of no cars, no personal vehicles, is that they're going to have how I translated it and kind of put it in simple terms is they're going to have like a public Uber system where if you want to go somewhere, you call a car or some sort of vehicle to come and pick you up. She said it's going to be autonomous. And so that's the plan, so that they're not investing in any more freeways because they're not going to need them, according to her, in 13 years. So
That's a pretty short time frame.
yeah, so it was.
She doesn't have to buy groceries for 4
I know.
young boys.
I know. So it was fascinating, but.
It was interesting also at the Urban Water Institute, they were discussing Governor Newsom's no gasoline vehicles after 3035, and that brought to my mind how, because now we don't have any, you couldn't even purchase an electric Vector vehicle today, and the manufacturers go, we're not gonna be building any. So I guess in 3034, we better budget buying some of these big vehicles then so that we can have a 20-year life, and maybe if you use the mechanics, you can keep it forever. I think it's foolhardy, and they're killing us, they're killing us.
It's well intentioned for sure, but aggressive plan.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to director's comments, future agenda items.
I do have a comment.
Go ahead.
Since I've served on the board, I've heard about the hillside development. We've never had a presentation on that. And I would prefer not to be faced with a decision that I have to vote on and also having to drink from a fire hose with absorbing all of that information at once. So my question is, when can we expect sort of a history and context of that project in anticipation? It sounds like, we're moving towards some kind of development or some kind of decision. I would just like to have that be a multi-step process so I can digest it rather than drink from a fire hose, make a decision, and I'm not sure what I'm deciding.
Yeah, no, good point. We've had a conversation at the ad hoc committee, so our plan is to set up this next meeting, get an update on the geotech work that was done, the progress of the city's general plan update, and those two pieces will probably in large part determine our next steps. We'll brief the ad hoc committee, and then we'll take our plan, as the committee asked, to take it to the full board, because they had the same comment. We don't want the other 3 board members to be unaware of what's going on.
No, and the process is gonna be fully transparent, so it won't be drinking from a fire hose, because I can remember in the early days when some of these things were brought to me, and I didn't even know what the heck they were talking about. So we wanna break it down into logical steps so that a decision from the board can be made as to how to move forward in the best interest, in my opinion, of our ratepayers. That's what I'm all about. What's this gonna do for our ratepayers, in addition to making it an award-winning project for our community?
Yeah, we realize there's a couple of new board members that have not been around for any of this, so we'll give a little history. What was the vision? What have we done so far? What are the next steps? And there may be some decision points we have to make in the near future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
South Lake. I'm gonna beat this drum for 10 years, and I'm gonna beat it till I die.
James has great news for you.
Oh, gosh, no kidding.
Director Hannes, I have excellent news for you. So, the South Lake Agreement, after much waiting, has been blessed by the city manager. It has gone to the city's legal, basically city's lawyer, and they came back with minor comments. We're working through, I sent an email today on addressing the minor comments. But there's nothing that's a showstopper. So, and I've talked with the Public Works Director. They are ready and poised to go to make the improvements necessary to make South Lake safe and accessible. According to the city, assistant city manager, within 2 weeks to a month of getting the contract done. Next thing that General Manager Prum and I'm going to do is meet with Chris and start planning so a timeline of what that would look like, and working directly with the city staff and their outreach group on that for some type of opportunity for the board and the city council members to get together if possible.
Oh, good, good.
So about 30 days from now?
Maybe 60.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually were talking.
I didn't know what to tweet.
Yeah, we were actually, James and I were talking about trying to schedule something in October. And it may just be more ceremonial because the improvements that are needed before you can open it may not be done. But we can do a ribbon cutting, we can maybe open it for a couple of hours, let people see what's there, and then close the gates back up. The city could do their work before the gates are thrown open permanently.
Let's talk about it though. Opening, closing, that's confusing, right?
It's problematic.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
The community, those poor devils that live out there, this was one of the things that they were promised. Access, in their brochure and their videos, South Lake, recreational facility, yada, yada, baloney. That was 4 years ago. If I was a homeowner, I'd be angry as ever. I'm angry as a board member.
Okay, any other comments before I pound the gavel? We're adjourned.
Okay.